So I really like my new head unit, but there's one thing about it that really irritates me, and I don't think it's just down to this head unit. I think it's just like the way of the world. But let me show you. Essentially, there is no dial for the volume. Like, I would much prefer that than, like, imagine you're driving, right, and I want to change the volume. So I've got to basically reach over there, this tiny little button here, to turn it up or down. So that up, and then like it's just irritating, and I can't just put my, because it doesn't go any higher if I keep my finger on it. So I've got to press it repeatedly. Like, I'm trying to drive when I'm doing this. It's like I would literally be safer pulling out my mobile phone and doing stuff on my mobile phone than I would be trying to do this. But just a bugbear. Everything else is fine about it. The sound's great, everything like that. It's just that one thing that really winds me up. Like, it's so much easier just to reach over, twist a dial. Simple. Don't get it, but anyway. So on the selling the van front, I basically decided I was definitely going to sell it. So it was just a case of getting it cleaned up and ready to take photos of, ready to advertise, put it up for sale. I hadn't decided the value. I think I was probably just going to put it on auction and see how much it went for, or buy it now on eBay. So that's basically where I was at. I've been and looked at a couple of cars. So basically I went to look at two cars. One of them was, I would say, far too expensive for what it was. I didn't look underneath, but I could tell that it was probably quite rotten just from sort of the arches and things like that. Just having like a deep dive into the arches. And then one of them had been, it seemed really good, and that was actually cheaper than the first one. But it had been under sealed, which puts me off a little bit, because it can hide like all sorts of issues, I think, if it's been under sealed rather than just having a look. And there was some surface rust around like parts of the under seal as well. So, you know, that put me off a little bit, because I can't really tell if the under seal's protected it or if it's hiding something. And I don't think you can tell unless you pull the whole thing off. And then obviously you're talking about like the price point of the car, and then to do all that, you're talking about another couple of £1,000. And then that puts me into the realms of, there was a Japanese version of this car that we can get in this country, and some of them have been imported over, and whilst they are far more expensive, when you start looking at sort of the base price of the UK model and then doing all this stuff to it to get it to the point where it's like clean and rust free, you're kind of not far off the Japanese version cost. And the Japanese version was a better car. So these things are things I've been considering. You know, I need to go further afield and look at a couple more UK models, I think, just to give me an idea of if they're all kind of the same area for the price, or if there's, you know, a couple of good ones out there that are just valued a little bit cheaper. I don't know, we'll see. I need to do more research. But anyway, after deciding, long story short, after deciding I was going to sell the van, I've actually been asked to come in for like a test day for a job, which would massively increase the income that I'm on now. And if that's the case, and if I get that job, I may not have to sell the van. So it's up in the air again. Basically, I'm back to square one of, do I sell or don't I sell? I need to know what's going to go on with this job. So I've replied to their email. I'm just waiting to hear back from them to give me a date to go in and do the appraisal. Just popped along to the coast to get some of my favourite fish and chips. It's going to be a nice, delicious meal on a Saturday with a nice view as well. So I didn't have the presence of mind to film this at the time because, in all honesty, it was a little bit stressful. I just wanted to like get out of the situation as quickly as possible. But having a nice day out, obviously went to the beach, went for fish and chips, then we went to country house, have a walk, look around, things like that. And when I got there, I didn't think too much of it. Basically, the main car park was full, so we went into the overflow car park, and it was like really, really flat, but there was lots of potholes. But I managed to like navigate my way around the potholes without actually going into any of them. And then parked up, had the day at this place, and then went to come out. And as we came out, you had to go like up this hill and then join the main road, which was going downhill. So there was like a peak going on, kind of like that basically. So this is the road coming down, and then the car park was coming from this angle. So not only was I turned at an angle, it was like going from an uphill straight into a downhill. And so like I thought this is going to be close, so I was just like going slowly, edging along, and there was quite like a few people there because there was benches and things like that. And then obviously the inevitable happened, where the bottom of the van hit on the ground. And when that happened, like I stopped immediately, but I'd kind of gone too far to back out as well. I had cars behind me, I couldn't like reverse, but I'd already hit, so I might as well at that point keep on going. So like there was a lot of loud scraping noises coming along, but I managed to like just keep going and pull the van out. And like I said, I just wanted to out the situation, so I didn't have the presence of mind to turn the camera on and film or anything like that. And like there was nanas like clearly shocked at the noise that came from the underside of the van hitting the ground. But I don't think I've actually done that much damage, or any damage at all. I think I've kind of got away with it, to be honest. So, you know, a bad situation, but not a bad outcome. I'll show you in a second, but there is like a plastic rail that goes along the bottom of the van. I'm not sure what it does, whether it's to disrupt air, or I can't imagine it being, because it's plastic, I can't imagine it being for anything other than disrupting airflow underneath the van. But that's totally mangled and needs replacing. And then looking deeper into it, I can't see like anything else that would classify as damage or anything like that. So we'll jump out now. I'll show you underneath. I'll show you sort of the results of what's going on. So this is the plastic bit that I'm talking about. If you look here, you can see that all the way along there's about 2 left in. All the way along it's like basically been ripped out of its mountains. So like I said, I don't know what it does. I presume it's to disrupt the airflow, but that's taking a hit. And then you can see along these suspension supports just here and across, go around the other side to have a look. But they're obviously the ones that was making the screeches, so I'll get that covered and protected with some kind of paint protection. So again, around the other side, so I think it was just that the far side was where it was like angling down. So I think this side doesn't seem to have, other than obviously, you know, the bit of plastic here is cracked, and then it's actually it's still in place on this side. So I think it's just snapped on this side, but the other side's ripped out, and then along here into the center as well is ripped out. But the only point I can see where it looks like it's scraped more is on the other side there, like this for the suspension. I think I got fairly lucky with that. I think that's probably going to be fairly cheap to replace. It would just literally be a case of unscrewing it and screwing a new one back in that's not sort of been ripped out at the seams and snapped and things like that. So that should be fairly straightforward to do. And it could have been worse. I could have got proper stuck, and that would have been embarrassing with a massive crowd there, and having to get a tow truck to come and get us off of the peak of the situation. But anyway, hope everyone's good. I'll do a new video soon. Like I said, everything's a bit up in the air at the minute. I'm trying to sort out my life as quickly as possible. I think it's just one of those things. It'll be sorted when it's sorted, but you know, if it's sorted within a month, we're looking good. Anyway, speak to you soon. Have a good one. See you later. Bye bye.